Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Let's talk Wandavision. Spoilers coming up, so be careful if you haven't seen the episode yet. We're going to talk about episode 3, which is called Now in Colour, because we've jumped forward to the 1970s, sort of early 70s kind of style sitcom. And first of all, what I'll say is that each episode of this show has a different intro theme, as obviously it's a different era, and they do a really good job of getting stuck in your head, because last week's theme got stuck in my head in the second episode, and this week's one has as well. So that's one good thing they're doing. They've really captured that whole sitcom vibe pretty well. But yeah, getting into the good stuff, I say spoilers, I think this is my favourite episode so far. But I will say with this show at the moment, because I watch everything twice, I'll watch it in the morning when it comes out, and then I'll watch it the next day before I do this review, so I can take notes and stuff, so I know what I'm going to talk about. And I will say I didn't particularly enjoy it as much the second time around. I'm not really sure why, but you know, it's I think this is going to be one of those shows where it's going to be the sum of its parts. I think it's 8 or 9 episodes. I can never remember which it is because I hear different things. But I think when you get the full picture, it's going to be really good. But I think these early ones, they're not ones you're going to rush to rewatch. I would say. But you know, I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm very patient. I like long-term storytelling, so that's all great for me. But yeah, the main story of this episode was Wanda suddenly being pregnant, and obviously her baby growing very, very quickly. So like I say, I enjoyed it. There was a few more bits where you kind of got a bigger picture of what was going on. There was a few more kind of glitchy bits kind of in the matrix that they're sort of in. And I think the big question, and I don't know if this is something that other people have figured out, I try not to read too much out of what I actually watch, because I don't want anything to be kind of accidentally spoiled for me. I like to kind of, I mean, I know nobody really knows outside of it what the end game is, no pun intended, but it's nice to kind of figure these things out for yourself. So I think the big question is whether or not this whole thing is a creation of Wanda's, like it's her powers where she's created it, or if she's being held in there involuntarily and also possibly without realizing, or it's a combination of the two. I personally think that this is what she's created, and she's living her dream life with Vision through these sitcoms that she kind of grew up watching. Which explains why she's inexplicably lost her accent, which I mentioned before, but it does amuse me. Again, I've no problem with that. I don't really care. But yeah, there's quite a few little visual bits in this one. Geraldine became a bit more of a central character because, like I say, if you don't know who she actually is, then I'm not going to say, because I don't know if it's considered a spoiler yet. She's not a major player, but she is someone we've seen in a different version before, kind of thing, in the MCU. But they kind of played into her a little bit, and at the end Wanda ejects her from the world that they're in, and it's kind of, again, that's the question of, was she there on behalf of S.W.O.R.D, because she had the S.W.O.R.D thing on, she's clearly a S.W.O.R.D agent. Was she there kind of to help, or was, and it's kind of, it's a hard one to kind of place everything, but I quite like that. So she's obviously going to be a recurring character because she's outside of the world now, and this is the first time we've seen the outside. So that's quite interesting then. But I think it raises the question whether the other characters in the small town bit they live in, whether they're actual people who are also there without the knowledge. It's really confusing to talk about, or whether they're also constructs a part of it. Like Catherine Hahn, who wasn't in it enough this week for my liking, but she was great in the couple of minutes she was in it. Her, and I think was it Herb, the other neighbour, who was cutting the hedge and then started cutting through the wall, which was really weird. They were very suspicious of Geraldine, so I don't know whether they are kind of part of it, or they are just, if they're constructs themselves. Like I said, I think Catherine Hahn is a completely different character, her own sort of things, which will be interesting. But like I said, I think it's one of those shows where it's a bit of a slow burner, and then it gets in more into the bigger picture later on, which would be really cool. The advert that we always get in the middle of the episode was Hydra Soaks. I mean, that's a pretty clear, reference there. Like, all these adverts seem to have little references that are, they're pretty on the nose. You don't really have to look too hard. It's like it was Stark, Strucker, and Hydra. So I mean, they're all pretty clear there. The twins being called Billy and Tommy was pretty cool, because that's the name of Wanda's twins in the comics as well. And it was the first time she's mentioned Pietro. The only time she has her accent is when she says Pietro. And then obviously Geraldine mentioned Ultron as well, which is quite cool, because I don't think Wanda's even really mentioned her brother all that much since he died in Age of Ultron, which is kind of weird, really. But she hasn't had that much kind of screen time in the movies, I guess. And that's not a criticism. It's just there's a lot of characters in the movies she's in, which is cool. But I like the idea of I've always liked the idea, and that's long been a thing. The Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff, is the most powerful of the Avengers. Like, she's not this big, broad character, like physically kind of like Thor or Captain America or whatever, but she just has this like unbelievable power. It's kind of like Sue Storm being the most powerful member of the Fantastic Four. Like, you wouldn't think it because they're the not just because they're the female characters, but because like they don't have that kind of big impact when you look at them physically, like the Thing, for example, or like I say, like Thor. But they're the ones that are doing the real damage. Like, if you remember in Endgame, like Wanda almost killed Thanos, like before he had to go to a last resort kind of thing, rain fire. So I like that she's so powerful that she could have created this whole kind of world around her and that kind of thing. But yeah, so like I said, I think this was the best one so far, because I think it opened up things a little bit more, raised more questions, which is good, because like I said before, I like this being a once a week thing, because you can talk about it in between and you can speculate on it, rather than, it comes up, someone watches all 8 episodes and then you've got to be careful to not get things spoiled for you, because I'm not a binge watcher, as I said before. I like to watch things one a week. But yeah, it's I think actually one other thing, I think the character Phil, who's Emma Caulfield's character, Dottie I think the name is, her husband, he's had the best lines each week. There was one last week with the magic show when the bit with the piano, and he just said, "That was my grandmother's piano." And this week when she asks him if she looks fat, and then the power goes out, and then and he just and he's like, "Oh, thank God." I think he's the funniest character by far. But I think Elizabeth Olsen has been great in this, and I've always liked her as Wanda, and in other stuff she's been in as well. But I think she's really nailing that, like fully embraced in the so is Paul Bettany, fully embraced in like the whole sitcom world that they're in. And I'm really enjoying that. She's fully committed to this. Like, the whole show is, like I say, very, very bold, and it's just really, they've really gone full in on this sitcom thing, and I think it's really going to come together in a very satisfying way. Like, I couldn't even tell you what the late episodes are going to be. Like, I've no idea what they could possibly be, because I don't think they can keep the sitcom thing to the bitter end, but like, they've still got the 80s and 90s and stuff to go through. But yeah, I'm enjoying the show. I think it's really good. Let me know what you think. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you here next week for the next episode. Thank you very much.